Yeah, but first, a new documentary is showing how far one man will go to help out a stray cat in his Colombian neighborhood. Filmmaker joining us right here in studio after the break.
I couldn't take it anymore and decided I had to do something. It was breaking my heart, and I knew he wouldn't survive unless I got that thing off of him. 7 months earlier, we relocated to South Carolina. It wasn't too long before I began to catch brief glimpses of a black and white tuxedo cat with a big green ring around his neck. I couldn't tell exactly what the ring was, but it was clearly causing a problem. I realized that this ring was a death sentence to a cat trying to survive outdoors. How hard could it be, right? Put bait in it, catch cat, take cat to vet.
Hanger there. Welcome back to Soda City Live. You just saw a snippet from a documentary called Ringo. The filmmaker here with me, shot, written, and produced by Derek McFarland. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And those must have been your famous last words, right?
How hard could it be, right?
Right. How hard could it be?
Put bait in it, catch cat, just be simple.
Yeah, right? And we can go from there. You have Ringo here in spirit, little stuffed animal.
This is about as close as we get to Ringo.
To cuddling with Ringo, right?
Yes, this is about as close as you get.
Before we dive into the film and what inspired you to make it and what it's about, of course, we got a little tease, but we connected because you wrote into us, and I told you right before the show, I said, well, I don't know, I'm not a cat person, let's see. Right. And the moment I started watching, I was hooked. I'm like, how is he going to do this? It was showing your trial and error of how you went about it. But for viewers at home, tell us a little bit, without spoiling it, the story of Ringo. Yeah, well, we moved in and we first started catching glimpses of him. And I mean glimpses because he's so, like you said, skittish, not socialized around people. So a sighting of Ringo would be like a Bigfoot sighting, like just brief little. And I told Robin, I said, I think I saw this black cat and I think it had some kind of ring around his neck. Right.
And we would see it again. She said, oh yeah, I saw him too. And this went on for several months. And it just, just started wearing on me. Like, I want to do something. I want to try to. And one day he just stopped and I got like the weird grainy cell phone picture of him and put it on social media, and everybody just came out and said, oh my gosh, yes, you have to get him and you have to help, and all kinds of suggestions and support. So that started it. Well,
I want to say you went through a learning process with so many things. Catching a cat and then trying to help this cat, that's one. But two, documenting the entire thing. You have a background, you're a musician, so you understand kind of some audio software and things like that. But talk about when you decided you were going to make this into a documentary and how that whole process went.
Yeah, well, the putting the cameras under the porch was kind of out of necessity because we couldn't see him, we couldn't track him. So I set up these cameras and set some food out, and let's just see if we attract him. And we did. And there really was no thought about a documentary at that point. It was just we needed the cameras to try to catch the cat and learn where he was he showing up. And then so many people, all these people online, like a small army of people we call Team Ringo, had so many suggestions and were following it that I was doing a daily vlog of, here's what we did today, and showing the video footage and recording some other stuff, and just every day. And it took over a month to finally catch him, and there were highs and lows, ups and downs, and days we cried and days we laughed, and it was. You
could see days of frustration sometimes too.
Very, very much so. I thought I had ruined it, and he was never going to come back, and he was stuck with this thing on, and it really was a dire situation. We didn't appreciate it until after we got him, and the vet really told us. It was very tight. It had been cutting into his neck. And
his hair was all matted too, which I thought was an interesting point because he couldn't clean himself. This is holding him up.
Yeah, this is the ring that was on.
That's the actual ring.
This is the actual one. You can see he's all scratched up where he'd been trying to get it off. We saw him for at least 7 months before we attempted to get it off, and I think he probably wore it a lot longer.
Yeah.
And I guess the main health risk was he couldn't clean himself, and he had a really unsanitary thing going on. So it was a life-threatening thing. So I was glad we were able to finally get it.
I mean, I think you said it perfectly. You realized it was a death sentence for this cat that's just trying to survive, right? And I know you have several in your neighborhood, but obviously Ringo stood out because he had this ring on his neck. But I do want to talk a little bit, though. I know you didn't set out with maybe the intention of making it into a film, but I'm so glad that you did, because it really just has an overarching message of helping out your neighbor and the importance of doing so, and someone who might not know that they need help receiving it and it changing their life, right? Whether it's a cat or a human. Did you see that when it was happening, or was it kind of like in reflection, you were like, wow, this is a bigger story than I realized?
It was in reflection, and at the end of it, I mean, like I said, we had highs and lows, but at the end there was just this overwhelming joy that, you know, we got it off of him and he was going to be okay.
Right.
And I had all this footage, and I really just wanted to preserve that story. I thought, you know, I want to remember it later, and put it in such a format, and a documentary ended up being, you know, the format to tell that that story. So I started putting it all together and started writing and got it all together, and you know, this came out of it, and it's just been amazing.
It's the most wholesome story, but it had me choked up several times, because we're so lucky to have people like you and your wife Robin, who are out there just trying to make small differences to help other people or cats out. I want to talk a little bit, though, about some of the other things maybe you learned through the whole process. One is Ringo, you can see in the film, was very skittish and not trusting and didn't like humans, and you had to trap him. And so I'm sure that really weighed on you emotionally, as like breaking that trust, but maybe also building it in the end. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, he seemed to be, either he's the hardest cat in the world to trap, or I'm the worst cat catcher in the world.
I think he might be the hardest cat to trap.
You have to watch and judge for yourself. But you know, some cats are easy to catch. I mean, we caught several others and took them for spay and neutering, and they just went right in the trap, and it was easy peasy. But I don't know if it was he'd been trapped before, but he knew what the trap was.
Yeah, he could
knew
tell,
what it was, and even when the hunger overcame his fear and he went in, he knew what made it go. He would go just to the edge of the trigger and lean over and pull the food out and drag it out. We had to trick him with like false floors and things like that to disguise the trigger. It was.
And you could tell you were really emotional after it happened too, because you were glad in some sense, but also you were saying, I hope he didn't have like a heart attack. You could see the concern. We're coming short on time. I could talk to you for so long about this, but there's a few really important things I want to get across. One is that now you've produced this film, and it's actually gained submission into some film festivals. Can you quickly tell us about that?
Yeah, a friend of mine in the Columbia Running Club saw it and said, you know, you should submit this to festivals.
Totally.
I have no idea what you're talking about. So I did a little research, and there are film festivals all over the country that showcase independent and first-time filmmakers. So I picked a few in our region and a few that had an animal theme to it, and submitted, and so far I've been selected in 3 film festivals.
Congratulations.
So thank you, we're excited.
And please keep me updated on how those go, because I love this film. I was really hooked. So I think for a first-time filmmaker especially, I'm so impressed. So
I can't believe we're going to sit in a film and watch in a theater and watch it with other people, but I'm on TV with a doll, so it's all surreal.
Right, exactly, it just kind of happens. Before we go here, I want to make sure we pull up where viewers can watch Ringo. RingoFilm.com, that's Derek's website. You can watch it there, or if you go to YouTube and type in Ringo 2022. And Derek, I didn't ask for these, but I'm so glad you passed it along. We want to provide some resources for people at home if you are thinking about trying to, I don't like using the word trap, but trying to rescue a cat, to spay and neuter them and return. Those resources are Palmetto Lifeline, the Humane Society of South Carolina, Richland County Animal Care, and Lexington County Animal Services. We'll be sure to post that information on our website as well, WISTV.com. But Derek, I hope this is the first of many films to come from you, although I know it was an emotional and exhausting experience. So thank you for being here. Thank you for
having me, Hannah.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. All right, we are going to be right back here on Soda City Live. Stay with us.